The House comes to question. I'll answer. First question, the name of Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. Does he stand by his statement that the, quote, 100 years commemoration of Gallipoli, end quote, could be one argument for a joint ANZAC force to be deployed in the fight against ISIS?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I stand by my full statement on this issue, which reflects that the government has been talking to Australia about potentially partnering in a training role in Iraq. As I clearly stated when I gave a national security speech last month, the government will make a decision about whether to take that step on its merits, and there's a lot of work yet to be done on it. What badge someone might wear is very much a secondary issue to that.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Is he seriously saying that sending our troops to Iraq would be a fitting tribute to our fallen in Gallipoli, when the lesson of Gallipoli is not to sacrifice our troops in poorly justified military adventures?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, what I am saying is that the government considers the Islamic State regime to be brutal, to be one that presents a domestic, regional and international risk to New Zealanders, and that the New Zealand government is considering a wide range of, or has considered a wide range of options available to stand up against ISIS, and one of those is providing a training force in Iraq.
Why use ANZAC?
Order. Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Why did New Zealanders have to find out from the Australian media about the plans for our troops to be part of a joint combat force? Why didn't he just tell us?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, well, no decision has been made. What did happen was someone in one of the Australian newspapers ran a speculative piece. As I said at the time when I was asked about that, in principle it's a possibility, but it's a long way away from being a probability.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
When was a joint Iraq deployment with Australia first discussed?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I don't have that date to hand.
Supplementary.
Order. Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Given the Iraqi army's serious issues with ineffectiveness, corruption, sectarianism and human rights violations, despite over $25 billion worth of American support over the past 10 years, why is a token effort worth risking Kiwi lives?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, the member may not take the build-up of ISIS seriously, and he may be so shallow in his thinking that he doesn't recognise the risk that it presents to New Zealanders, but I'd strongly suggest that he needs to school up a little bit more and understand how brutal these people are and the risks that they present to New Zealanders.
Why not try answering the question?
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
In light of his shifting statements and his failure to reveal the plans for an ANZAC unit until forced to, why should New Zealanders trust him when he says our troops wouldn't be involved in any combat?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
If anyone's making it up, it's Mr Little. There is no plan for an ANZAC force at this stage. There's been a very high-level discussion, and if ultimately it goes to that level, then we'll come back and talk to the New Zealand public about that. But I've been very clear in my speech I gave on national security that we were looking at a training unit in Iraq, that we looked at potentially doing that with Australia, and that we have deployed military people to scope that exercise out. If the member doesn't or can't keep up with my speeches, he's just learned to read a bit faster.
Order. Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Why can't he simply front up and be straight with New Zealanders about his plans for deployment of troops to Iraq?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the member needs to learn a new line, otherwise it'll all get a bit boring in the next 3 years.
Order. If the Prime Minister could just address the question that's been asked.
Speaker, when the member learns to read, he'll learn how to keep up. That was all in the speech of a few weeks ago.
Question number 2, Tim McIndoe.